Kaufman. It's December 8th, 1995.
Okay. So here I'm living in Russia with my sister and brother-in-law, and there is a luscious soldier and young doctor who comes always in the pharmacy and tells us, you Jewish girls, you run away until you can. You don't know what's Russia. Russia. He said, if I wouldn't have the family, I would never go back. And it's penetrating my mind why he's telling us. And I said to my sister, let's try to go away. So she said, you know what, let's go to Prague. We need some medication anyway, and let's see what's going on in Prague. So we went back with this doctor came with us. We went to Prague, and there we met already some of our cousins and the girls, and then it was still, they didn't have, the food was scarce in Prague. It was everything on tickets. And we had plenty food in Russia, in the pharmacy. So food was the big deal now. We were hungry for a year. I mean, you can imagine. So they promised for my sister that they can get a pharmacy, they can work together, they can work separate. So we were coming home back to Russia, and my sister said, how can I tell him to come to Prague if he has nothing to eat? It's not enough for him. So we arrived to Munkac, and the pharmacy is closed. They're telling us that they closed the pharmacy. So we were very happy he will abandon and he will come with us back to Prague. But he comes back in the evening that he got a new pharmacy in a little town because they don't have pharmacists, and he will get an apartment, and he was all happy. So my sister said, you know what, we will staying here till spring, and spring we might come out. So I went with them to this little town called Teche, and they got an apartment. Meanwhile, my sister in Sziget, she decided if we are in Russia, she comes to Russia. So here we are, 3 sisters with 1 husband in Russia in a little apartment. There is some other guy coming over in the evening. We start to cry again every night. And one morning I wake up, I said, that's it. I don't stay in Russia. I don't want to stay in Russia. I saw already what's going on. I saw they took his pharmacy away. Everybody who had his pharmacy and survived the war and didn't have any trouble, they stayed in their own pharmacy. He who had the pharmacy all stolen and all, he was 3 years in camp. He got sent away, he doesn't get an apartment. So I said, something is wrong. I don't like to be in Russia. So it's quite a long story how I went through the war there, but anyway, I will try to make it quickly. We went from Teche, we went to Slatina. It's a city that a river separated from Sziget, and there used to be a bridge. So one morning, 3 of us, we go there that tried to go over the bridge to Sziget, what was Romania. But we arriving there, we find out that the border is completely closed, nobody can go, and the bridge is all broken, there is no way to go over. So we start to walk there in the city. There was a train going back to Teche just in the evening. We were desperate, walking around, not to know where to go. So finally we saw a little shoemaker shop, and we go in and we said if we could stay there till evening, that we have to go back to Teche, and we wanted to go to Sziget, and there is no way we can tell them that we want to come over. So she said, this woman said, she had confidence in us because we told her that we were with her sisters in camp. We recognized the face, it was the same face. So she said, somebody's going over this night, over the river, and you can send a letter to your family. So these guys come in, 2 young boys, one was a little bit older than me, 2 was younger, and he said, write the letter and I will take it over to them. And I write a little note to my cousin, and I said, here we are stuck in Teiche, we don't want to stay here. Try to get us some paper that we should come to Sigurd. Because I knew that they have connections there. And he takes the letter, he puts it in his pocket, he said, okay, I pass by in the morning, I will knock on the door and I give it to them, your letter. So I said, if you can be there in the morning, why can't I be there in the morning? I said, take me with you. He said, it's not for girls, you have to walk over the river. The snow was big, the water was, it was cold, and it was dangerous. The Russian was shooting down people if they find them. And I just started to beg him. I said, I don't want to stay in Russia, you have to take me. I begged him so much, and my sister started to cry, you cannot do this. I said, nothing will happen to me, and I don't want to stay in Russia, and I want to go to Romania. And sure enough, I persuaded them. And I don't want to go in details of how it happened, but I went through the border, and we stopped somewhere on the border, and in the morning, he took me to my cousin's. I arrived there, I knocked on the door, they didn't know where I am coming from, all wet, in a wet coat. And my husband said, I mean, this time it wasn't still my husband, she undressed me, she gave me a warm pajama, she put me to bed with a hot tea, I didn't even catch a cold. So this is how I left Russia, and I arrived to Romania. So then everybody was thinking I come back to marry my husband. So I was still not ready for it, but all these months and all the pressures from everybody, and he's so nice, and he keeps everybody, you will like him. And so I think the most thing that persuaded me, I would have been jealous for my sister that he married anybody else. So this is how we married. And then in Romania, when it changed, that it started to be communist, I started to bug my husband. I said, I don't want to stay in a communist country. He had good business going. He said, let's wait a little bit, let's make some money. And I said, I don't want to stay, and I don't want to stay. And he still didn't listen. But my sister was with me, Gabi. She came back from Russia also, but legally. They sent some papers for her. She wasn't so brave like me to run over the borders. She came back, and as Czechoslovak, they came back from Czechoslovakia to look for some stranded people, if they are stranded somewhere. So she was still Czechoslovak, and with two cousins who weren't married yet, and she wasn't married, they decided they go to Czechoslovakia. So in a small city, and my husband was taking them to the train, and people saw that he's going with packages, so they were thinking that he is running away. They stopped them somewhere in another city, and they came to my house and started to look for papers, if we have papers, if we want to go away, if we have passport. And when he called me at night, I said, you don't come back. And I was pregnant, 7 months pregnant, and I took the challenge that he should leave and I should stay here. And never really he listens to me, but this time he went over to border to Hungary, because I was afraid already. And yeah, and my brother-in-law was in Bucharest, and they caught him, because anybody who had money, they already started to extort them.
Mm-hmm.
They ask money because you're making money, you know, because it was already communist. So we knew that he was arrested, and we have to pay a lot of money for him. I said to my husband, you don't come back. And he went over to the border to Budapest. So now it was the story, I start to go. How will I go that they shouldn't see it? We had the apartment, nicely furnished with everything in it. I took a little luggage, And I said to the maid, I'm going next city. I want to make some dresses there. I want to buy some things. So she was running after me with some food. She said, eat something at least. How are you going? She didn't know that I'm running away, that food wasn't important anymore. And I had a brother-in-law there and a cousin's husband. And with a taxi, they took me to the border. There was a city where it was on the border of Hungary. And they had some connections that this guy will take me over. But he was not too honest. He owed a lot of money for my husband, but meanwhile, because he could get money from other people and he knew he cannot get money because he has already our money, he was pulling my leg actually every day. And some Gentile people, they took me in on the border. I wish I would know their name or I would know who they were. They were so nice with me. They were hiding me for a week until my brother-in-law came from Bucharest with my sister-in-law and a cousin and some other people, and we got some different connections, and we went through the border. It wasn't so easy like it sounds now, me pregnant, walking through woods, going from one place to the other, but I did arrive to Budapest.
Okay. We're going to have to speed this up a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So I arrived to Budapest, and from Budapest, I was waiting till last minute when I had to give birth. We took again the borders, and we went over 3 borders to arrive to München. And to arriving in München, I give birth. It wasn't an easy thing. You find yourself between Germans all by yourself in a clinic and giving birth to my son. And I was somehow, they gave me some sleeping pills or something, and I dreamt that my father is coming. And they said, you have a boy. You have a boy? I said, I know, my father. So.
What is your son's name?
His name is George, but the Jewish name is Shmuel. It's after my Samuel. It's after my father. Jewish name is Shmuel, after my father.
Right, so why don't you tell me about France and then the United States?
Okay. So, in Germany, then I had to stay there because all these borders I went through illegally. Between to arriving to München, it's not a long story, I came in American newspaper, in a truck between American newspapers, hidden in a little hole, because those days was American side and English side and French side, and the borders were strict. So I didn't have any papers. So somehow they take me between these newspapers to Germany. This is how I arrived to Munich. Now, from Munich with a baby, I couldn't go already through the woods. So my husband went to Paris and registered as a refugee and tried to get me papers to go to Paris. So he made the papers and they sent the papers, but the papers never arrived. It took somehow 6 months until finally I saw the papers and I could go to Paris. So I will not make it long because how I arrived, but I arrived to Paris. Now, we were 11 years in Paris, 11 years in Paris. People tell, oh, you were lucky you were in Paris. In one way I was lucky, I like the city, I made a lot of friends. Another way, I'm still angry somehow with America that they let us stay. 11 years nowhere in the air. We had family in America, we had brother-in-law, sister-in-law, everybody. And because we were Romanian, according to my husband, I was Romanian also now, the quota was almost closed and they just didn't let us come. And now when I see anybody come so easy from any country and they stay, and we had to wait 11 years, and all my life changed because I was very lonely. One sister was in Russia, one sister was in Israel. My sister, whom I was very befriended, she went out to Canada. And we had the Canadian visa also, and somehow they canceled at last minute. I still don't know. I would love to know why they canceled our visa.
So when did you come to the United States?
59, in 59. Finally, we arrived to America. It was 93 degrees. It was a hot summer day, muggy. I felt I cannot breathe, and I felt like I said to my husband, let's take the plane and go back to Paris. This was my first impression. Everything was gray somehow after Paris. The buildings, no greenery. I don't know. Somehow all these years I wanted to be so badly in America. Since a little child I wanted to go to America. And here arriving, and I said, let's take the plane and go back. So
Tell me about your
I-
life now in the United States.
just now?
Hmm.
Okay. I just retired, so it's a little bit difficult working all these times.
What did you retire from?
My latest job was managing a shoe store, and I was happy. I liked it. I liked my job. I liked the people. I liked getting dressed, going, being there. But there comes a time you have to retire. So it wasn't still like I wanted, because I said always next year. But the company decided they want younger group. So since we are still good friends and good friends with the owner, so I said, okay, try. And meanwhile, I said maybe they made me a favor, because I did get tired. I came home tired in the evening. And now, for the first time in my life, I will live without working. So this is it.
Are there any parts of the story that you want to go over or that you forgot to mention?
There are a lot
I
of
know there's a.
It's a lot of stories, so I don't know which one I mentioned, which one I didn't mention, but it was a difficult life in Paris. People think you live in Paris. It wasn't always easy. It was very hard. Then I had these nightmares. Living in Germany 6 months, it wasn't easy. The day I had my papers, my husband still wanted to stay like 3 days. I rather took the train by myself with the baby, and I didn't want to stay 3 more days. It hurt me so much to see the children there and living, and then, like nothing would have happened, and knowing they killed all my parents and the children. And then, like in Paris, I had like 8 different places where I were living, because we didn't have an apartment. We were always renting something. And there was one time I had a little apartment. I was a little bit better off there than in rented rooms or in hotels. But in the afternoon, I was myself. My child was sleeping. Maybe I didn't go to the park. I was crying and thinking, maybe this is just a nightmare. Maybe it didn't happen. Maybe the door will open and they will come in. And nothing happened. Then I started to have nightmares at night. I was screaming, I was dreaming. I was always having a returning dream that the Germans are coming. This time I was living in the 5th floor. I said, the Germans are coming, knocking on the door. And I take my child, I take him to the window and hanging him down towards the window. And I was afraid I'm dropping him, but the Germans are coming and taking him. And this is how I used to have, always returning these dreams. So this was my life in Paris. But meanwhile, I have very good friends. Some of them are still in life. I go back. I'm happy to go back. But it wasn't easy. Meanwhile, I went off the track. I wanted to tell something still. We cannot. When we get together with cousins or friends, no matter what we're talking, we go back and we're talking about the concentration camp, how it was, how badly it was. And yeah, I know what I wanted to tell. I always remember one book from du Maurier, Daphne du Maurier, Rebecca. I don't know if you read it. It starts, the first sentence, this night I was back in Mandalay. And somehow it catch me, this sentence, how it starts the book. Because I always was dreaming back that I'm in Munkaj. I was always thinking I'm back in Munkaj. And when it came to it, with the Russian, that I went back already as an American citizen, I wanted to go back to the cemetery. And since I didn't see my sister for 20 years, I wanted to go very badly. And when I got my citizen papers, when I became an American citizen, the first summer I went to Russia. They didn't let people go to Munkach, but I arranged that somehow that I'm going to the cemetery. They gave me permission to go to the cemetery. They just took me with a car directly from Ushgorod, where was the hotel, to go to the cemetery. And I felt like in the book that I still didn't know. I'm dreaming now. I was dreaming before. I was like in a haze, you know. I couldn't believe it that I'm walking in Munkach and I'm there and it's nobody's there and nobody, you know, it's like a ghost town. I did go back several times because of my sister. My mother there were 3 sisters and brothers, but the 3 sisters were very, very close. And I used to tell her, why are you living in one city? The other friends, they can go visit the aunts, and my aunts are living in the city. My mother said, I wish for you that when you get married, you should live in one city. Little did she know that one was in Russia, one was in America, and one is Israel. So with the sister in Russia, it was in the beginning very difficult connection because we couldn't write, we couldn't spoken on the phone. So when I see her after 20 years, we was as close as I left her the day before. And after we kept a very close relationship, as much as we could visit. She could come out every 2 years in Budapest. I either went to Budapest or I went to Russia. She came twice to America. So, you know, I'm very close with her daughters who are luckily in Israel. She couldn't survive this. She had cancer and she died young, but all her dreams were that she should come out and be with us. And my sister in Israel, we're very close. We talk all the time on the phone, and we visit almost every year.
Okay. Do you have anybody who's looking at this video, what kind of message would you like to give to them?
It's for my grandchildren, for my children. My son is married, and we don't talk about all this. I mean, sometimes we're joking, we're talking about Paris, we're talking about Germany, we're talking about Romania. They know these stories. Sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry. But from the concentration camp, but you take the, you know, you don't start to tell them stories unless they listen and they hear it when we talk to each other, cousins. But my grandchildren, I mean, it's a mixed marriage, but my daughter-in-law bringing them up Jewish. We keep the Jewish religion for them, but they're still too little to understand all this. So when they will be bigger and they will look at the tape, they will understand certain things. They're always telling me that I am too watchful, that I'm scary. My grandson said, we will have to pay you not to be scared, because my daughter said, they cannot go nowhere together. You're holding them too much, like they run in the water and I'm scared, I run after them or something. She said, you see why we cannot go together to vacation? We're all nervous. So the little girl, she hears that, she said, don't be scared. They call me by my name, Ibi. Ibi, don't be scared. They say you can come with us. So the bigger boy said, I think we will have to pay you that you shouldn't be scared. So they cannot understand why I'm so scared for everything, why I'm always scared. don't want nothing happen to them. And unfortunately, my grandson, just a year of yesterday, he had a stroke. And it's difficult for us to take this, that he has it. Fortunately, he got better, but still not like we wanted. So they will know from this tape, if I'm not here, why was I always scared that nothing should happen to them?
Okay, well, I just want to thank you now for telling the story.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at photographs now.
Okay. What did I do with the
Okay,
photographs?
just wait.
Ah. Yeah. This is a picture of my mother and my two oldest sisters during World War I, when my father was 4 years in the military and my mother had a very hard time with the two girls. And I always look at this picture and she seems to look so bad for us that she must have been she must have had a hard life.
What were the sisters' names?
Yolan and Matu. And they were born in, Yolan was born in 1100 and Matu was born in 1400. So if she is there about 2 years old, it must have been like 2 years divorce.
In 1911 and 1914?
Yeah, they were born. And this was taken during the war when my father wasn't home. This is our family picture taken when I was about 5 years old. My mother and my father are sitting. In the middle is my sister Magda, who was paralyzed. Above them there is Yoli and Matsu. On the left side is Gabi, who is now in Israel, and on the right side standing is me. We are the two only who survived still. Okay, this is a picture taken. We had a play. I was going to Beis Yankov to learn to pray and some German, and it was a play what we enjoyed. In the middle there is the teacher who came from Vienna or Poland, I'm not so sure. My sister said from Vienna, I was thinking from Poland. She was teaching us and making this play. I am standing there on the far left side. There are a lot of girls who didn't survive the concentration camp, but a lot of them whom I still recognize, and once in a while I meet some of them, are on the picture. And some of them live in New York, some in Los Angeles, some in Israel. This is a picture of my sister Matsu when she was at the university in Prague. And this was a small picture for the university or what. But she looks very, very much as I remember when she was a girl. This is a picture taken in Munkac. My sister is on the left side, Gabi, and I'm on the right side. And I don't recall very well, I must be like 14, about 14 years old. That's it. Okay, this is a picture of my mother-in-law and my mother. They were cousins, and I don't know what was the occasion, but we just find this picture recently, and I'm very happy to have them.
Tell me the names of both people.
Okay, on the left side is Yanka, and on the right side is Serena.
What were the last names?
Myself, both of them.
Both of them were myself.
This is a recent family picture on the, I think it's a bat mitzvah of Gigi. She's not on the picture, but It's me with my husband, my son, my daughter-in-law, and the two kids. It's Laura and Jerry.
And what is your daughter-in-law's name?
My daughter,
And
isn't that stupid?
that happens all the time. It happens all the time.
I'm Pat,
Okay, that's
Pat.
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 And your son?
George. Isn't that silly? This is a family picture. I think it's on Gigi's bat mitzvah. On the picture is my son and my daughter-in-law. My son's name is George, my daughter-in-law is Pat, and the two kids, Laura and Jerry.